Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you how you can create a start-stop timer inside of Roblox Studio. When you walk over the green part, the timer starts, and when you walk over the red part, it automatically stops. It's often seen in games like Obbies, where players can keep on playing your game trying to get a lower time, so it's really good for the engagement of your game too. And it's actually surprisingly easy to make, so let's just get into it. Also, I just want to quickly mention, you can find all of the files of my tutorials on my Patreon, and if you just want to support me, it really helps. So first, let's head over to the workspace and insert a part. Let's move it over here, and we're gonna rename it to Start. Make sure it's spelled exactly like this or the code won't work. Let's give it a color. This looks good. Now let's just duplicate it. We're gonna move it over here. Depending on your hobby, you can move it wherever you want and give it a nice red color. We're gonna rename it to Stop. Make sure again it's spelled exactly like this or the code won't work. Now let's go over to Replicated Start and insert a remote event. We're gonna name this event Start Timer, spelled exactly like this. Let's duplicate it and rename the other event to Stop Timer. Now let's insert a script into Server Script Service. Here, click on the plus and click on Script. Let's just remove this template that it has given us. So first, let's create our variables. We're gonna say local start parts equals game.workspace.start. So this is the part that we just created, the green one. Now let's define the red one, the stop part. So local stop parts equals game.workspace.stop. Now we also created the events. So we're gonna say local start timer equals game.replicatedStart.start timer. Also local stop timer equals game.replicatedStart.stop timer. Now, whenever the player touches the start part, we're gonna send a message to the player and tell them you need to start your timer. And whenever they touch the stop part, we're gonna do the same. However, we're gonna send them a different message telling them to stop the timer. So start part.touched connect function. Now we have to verify if the part that touched the start part is actually a player, so we can do it like this. Local player equals game.players get player from character hit.parent. If player, then, and here we can execute some code if it's actually a player that touched the start part. So what we're going to do is start timer fire client. Fire client will send a message to a specific player, actually an event. You can just call it an event. We're gonna send it to the player that we just got from the hits. So here, player. And for the message that tells the player to stop the timer, we're just going to copy this. So copy and let's paste it here. However, we're going to change a few things. So it's not the start part that has to be touched, but the stop part. And here this should also go in. And we're not sending start timer. So we're not executing start timer or that event. So we're going to change it to stop timer. So stop timer fire client. Now we have two functions which actually detect when a player steps on a part and tells the client to stop or start a timer. Now we can close it with the little close icon right here to get back to our game. Now let's insert a screen GUI into starter GUI. We're going to add a text label. This will become our actual timer itself. We're going to change the position to something like 0.5, so it's in the middle. and we can change it on the y-axis to 0.2. I think that will look good. However, it's a little bit off center because we need to change the anchor points. Let's set it to 0.5 and 0.5, so it's exactly in the middle. And we can of course change the size, so at this point I'm just tweaking a little bit, making sure it looks good. You can customize this however you want, it won't really matter in the end. So can we just change the text, or we do not even have to do that. So text scale to true, that's pretty important. Maybe change the text color to white. And the fonts, I always prefer it being bold because it just looks a little bit better. It contrasts the game a little bit better. Now let's insert a local script into the text label. So because we're going to update the label every single frame, we need to use something called run service. So let's create a variable for it. Local run service equals game get service run service. Now let's create some variables for our events. So local start timer equals game dot replicated start dot start timer, and local stop timer equals game dot replicated start dot stop timer. We're also going to make some other variables. So our start time, so local start time, and because we do not have a start time yet, we're just going to say equals null. So null basically means nothing. Local running equals false. This will decide if the timer is currently running. It will be used to write the script, and we'll just make a lot of things easier. So, and we're also going to add local debounce equals false. So players can just spam and walk over it multiple times, causing it to crash or something. So we're also going to add debounce. Now let's detect whenever the server sends an event to our clients. So we're going to say start timer dot on client events connects function like this. If we're currently not running, we're going to start the timer and set running to true. We're going to do this like this. So if not running, then start time equals tick. Tick is pretty much a function. It gives us a time, I think in milliseconds. Let me just check. Yeah, it gives a time on the system, and it's really simple and easy to use. It also allows you to get very precise, so that's why we're using this. And we're also going to set running to true. Now, whenever the stop timer event is triggered, we're going to do something else. So stop timer dot on client events connects function this. We're going to set the start time again to null. We're stopping it and we need to clear that. So start time equals null, and we're going to set running to false. So this pretty much starts whenever your timer is still running and these functions updated. Now we're going to update the label itself. So run service dot heartbeats connects function run service heartbeats. It will run every single frame. So because we want to have it very precise and render it real time, we're going to use this. So if we're currently running, so if running, then, and now we're going to update the text. So script.parents. Script.parent is here the label, you can see it. The parent of the local script is the text label. Script.parents.text equals string.format. And we're going to say %.1f. We're going to have tick minus start time. So this will calculate the time that has elapsed since we started the timer, because we're taking the time currently minus the original time. This string.format, we use this so it rounds everything a little bit. It doesn't really round, it just doesn't display the last digits, but it works perfectly for a timer. So we can close the script now. So now let's test out the game. So click play to test it. Let me just close the windows over here. So when we walk over to the green part, the timer starts, and when we walk over the red, it stops. However, there's a slight issue. In the beginning it shows label, but we can easily fix this. So go to the text label, go to text, and just change it to 0. This will cause to show 0 even though the timer hasn't started yet, which is just a little bit better than this. And now it works perfectly fine. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.